Hey, how we doing, everybody?
Welcome back, everyone.
Joe here.
Kevin.
Yeah. So the West Wing, season three has been as strong as the first two seasons, in my opinion. I know a lot of folks said that it kind of runs out of steam in season three. I have
Sure.
not gotten that at all.
I have not yet either. The writing's still exceptional. The cast, it's the same cast, and they're all still exceptional. They've brought up different issues. Like I
Yeah.
get why season two is so strong, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to repeat, with like Noel or the ending that we had with Two Cathedrals. It's hard to maintain that, but I don't feel like there's been a drop off at all.
No, and I like that they brought back this last episode. It could have been Noel part two
Sure.
or something like that. You know what I mean? Because obviously with
Adam Arkin coming back, yeah.
Um, and it felt different.
Mhm.
It almost felt somebody put it on Patreon, almost like a play.
Sure.
The scenes between Bartlett and Adam Arkin.
Yeah, because you're just two characters kind of in a room for the extended amount of the episode.
Stanley, I think is what his name was.
Yeah,
yeah. And I really enjoyed that. I also really enjoyed the dialogue between Sam, Ainsley, and oh my gosh,
what's her name?
the intern whose name I can't remember.
Yeah, the intern who. How did I didn't look on Patreon. I was, I'm on YouTube dealing with those comments.
Sure.
I'm dealing with, that sounds terrible. Reading through, responding to those comments.
Mhm.
So I didn't see how. So we haven't done this episode yet on YouTube. How did people feel about that conversation among them?
I mean, the consent seemed to be that what on Sorkin's side, pro Sorkin. Right. Sam was in the right. There was obviously some issue with how the intern was written. Obviously,
Sure.
Just her kind of being out of nowhere. That
I get that, right? She came on pretty strong, and it's like kind of like a straw man argument of like, okay, she's just a little extreme.
Then it was a little surface level to just have like that be the issue.
Sure,
that's how they talk about it. You just cast a person who is clearly radical.
Right.
That's the dialogue that we have.
Sure.
But you have to have that conversation because he was getting this criticism, and I think it's fair to address it. How we chose to address it, though, I mean, it's up for debate.
Right.
But
for sure.
I think that it was well handled.
Right. And I like the fact that Ainsley's character was the one that kind of like gave the morality lesson around all that. It wasn't Sam's male character kind of talking down to someone like, learn to take a joke, because I mean that's the kind of stuff that does go off the rails when men think they're being funny, and women that whole argument of women don't have a sense of humor, and that's why they get so upset, is women just aren't funny and men are.
Rightfully so.
Right. Therefore, when women get upset about me being funny, it's really their fault for not having a sense of humor and not mine for being piggish in what I say. Which of course is a really disgusting narrative, right?
Yeah. Look, this whole thing is not one size fits all, right?
Sure.
If you're offended, you have absolutely a right to be offended. But we all have to pick our battles sometimes. I mean, we can't win them all. But in this case, I don't think Sam did anything out of line.
No.
Neither did she. She spoke up and said she felt uncomfortable. I think where the line was crossed is whenever she told Ainsley
how Ainsley was supposed to react to it. Right. Exactly. Yeah. I think so. And I think that was probably what they were going for there was, I think the overall message, I guess, if there was one that Sorkin was trying to convey was, if someone wants to be offended, they can be offended, and if they're not, they're not, and that's just everyone gets to have their reaction to the world around them, which I agree with.
Yeah, and we had a really fun conversation too about how I think Sorkin's work post 2010 has been the strongest it's ever been. Obviously, you have an incredible run in the 90s, right?
Yeah, sure.
Some really iconic work in the 90s, and even this show. But this show really serves its purpose as to be training, so to speak, or really Sorkin honing his craft of writing.
Sure.
Because Social Network look, his directing, you can pick apart if you want.
I'm not a big fan of his directing. I wish he'd stick to writing and handing his scripts off to talented directors like Danny Boyle.
But the scripts are still impeccable.
Sure, they are.
They're fantastically written. I really think it's some of them are masterworks. I mean, you look at Steve Jobs.
Absolutely
incredible screenplay. You know what I mean? So this show is fantastic because you can really feel Sorkin working out. You know what I mean? Like he's really getting better at writing.
Sure.
Every episode is so strong.
Yeah. I think, I like the movie have you watched Being the Ricardos?
That's one I have not seen yet. No.
I have. I really liked it a lot. I feel like it didn't quite get the credit it deserved as a work. Like the performers did, obviously. The actors were both nominated for Oscars. I think J.K. Simmons might have been as well for
he was
role. Yeah. But I feel like it would have been up there as a Best Picture contender if you would have handed the script off to a more competent director.
Yeah. I like that he's trying it because he's
Right.
done 3 in a row now. I think Molly's Game.
Molly's Game.
And look, I thought
Chicago 7.
I thought Chicago
I liked
7 was
it too. I
fantastic.
did like it
That
too,
was probably
right.
his best directed work so far.
I think so.
And as far as screenplays go, juggling that many characters in real life events is like it's not easy.
No,
You know what I mean? And so the fact that he can pull that off,
Yeah.
hats off to him.
Yeah, the guy definitely has skills. What I will say about that over the last one is I'm glad it got addressed. Right?
Yeah.
It could have very easily been like people are concerned like are you being sexist through your characters or are your characters sexist and you're showing them behaving that way? Because those are two different things. And I'm glad he didn't just ignore the conversation.
And it's at the point where he couldn't pull a Tarantino, like when Tarantino was criticized for Margot Robbie's character Once Upon a Time Hollywood.
Sure.
He just goes, "I reject your hypothesis."
Yeah,
You know,
I think it's fair.
Which that worked for that situation, but Sorkin, I feel like he is a really smart guy, and I think that including it in your work is a good way to talk about it.
It is. I remember when oh my God, Licorice Pizza.
Yeah.
You're right. There's a lot of criticism over the racist character who had the Japanese wife in that.
Yes.
So people were saying Paul Thomas Anderson is racist.
It's insane.
There was a significant contingent of people saying that because he didn't come out and say this is a bad guy for being racist. And it's like, is that where we are now in our movies? We need a disclaimer whenever a character behaves badly. Did I need to watch Silence of the Lambs and have a message that says you shouldn't eat people? I think we get it. I think you should trust the audience a little bit that they don't need to be spoon-fed like, oh wait, Hitler was a bad guy, so if there's a movie with Hitler, we need somebody making sure we say it.
Well, movies and TV are supposed to make you feel a certain type of way. They're
Right.
supposed to make you think. The good ones, anyways.
Yeah.
Look, you're not supposed to go into Transformers and walk away with an existential crisis.
Right. It's just mean about the future of the human race.
When an auteur, when a screenwriter, a master director, when they come out and they make something, they're not just making it for giggles. They're doing it to say
Right.
something, And Sorkin is no different, and he's doing it on television, which is insane.
And very, very well.
Yes.
All right, we do want to welcome a couple Patreon subscribers for the last couple days, guys. Sorry for definitely mispronouncing some of these names. Maria Anna Huber, Jesus, or Jesus, Adrian Minervino, Sophie, Lisa, and Saskia. Thanks for being here, guys. I really, really thank you for being here.
The Jesus rolls.
That's right.
And if you guys are watching this on YouTube for the first time, welcome to our channel.
Yeah.
If you'd mind hit the like button for us, leave us a comment down below, and please hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on the new content we've coming your way.
Yep. Want to see a full-length reaction to this and everything else you've watched or are watching? Check out that link in the description below to our Patreon page.
Mm-hmm.
If you get to the end of this episode on YouTube, you can just jump over to Patreon and catch the next 4 episodes of The West Wing. They're sitting right there waiting for you.
Yes, they are.
You're going to need to sync and watch along on your own streaming service. We're on Max.
Mm-hmm.
We are also watching 30 Rock right now, which we will be doing after this show as our laugh after the tension of The West Wing, as our comic relief after
it's a good release.
Sometimes tense episodes here.
We spoke several times about Kashmir, and she assured me they're working towards a peaceful resolution. Chess was invented in India, somewhere around 600
really?
A.D.
I
A
did not know that.
gigantic chessboard was constructed.
What's going on?
China.
Okay.
Wood and sandalwood, and a lacquered classic Stanton in boxwood.
Thank you, everybody.
What's going on?
Intel says Taiwan's getting ready to test fire 3 Patriots.
Where?
Oh, wow.
Based on an island in the Pingdong region. Should we tell Taiwan not to test the missiles?
There's been conflict between those two forever.
Ever.
I mean, we could try, but they're not going to go for it.
Because they don't recognize Taiwan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Taiwan wants their independence, right? And China says no. At least that's historically what it's been.
Yeah.
She gave me these beautiful chess sets.
The Prime Minister.
Yeah. I'm on my way.
James Hong's back.
Love it when he shows up.
Oh, in everything. I love James Hong.
Good evening.
What's the Taiwanese reaction so far?
All armed forces are on heightened alert. The war minister asked for an emergency cabinet meeting.
Charles Vincent close enough to make a detour into the South China Sea?
We think that's our next move.
After our next move comes their next move.
CJ,
Yes.
Katie,
is the president going to ask the Taiwanese to hold off testing the Patriots?
any of the new people not know about Hartsfield's Landing? Hartsfield's Landing is a town in New Hampshire, population 63. Hartsfield has accurately predicted the winner in every presidential election since William Howard Taft.
I need a copy of the president's private schedule.
Didn't you get one?
I need another.
You gotta sign it out.
I'm sorry?
For the 3rd time in 2 months, a copy of the private schedule wound up in the press room. I've got to crack down.
Charlie's exercising some authority here.
The
Good
anal
job.
retentive side of you is not gonna help you get girls.
I do okay.
Do you remember Jennifer Flender, The daughter of the mom and pop who had the tackle shop. The daughter just emailed me and told me her parents are voting for Richie tonight.
Why is she emailing you?
She emails. The rest of New Hampshire doesn't come in until 9 p.m. That's 21 hours of the news having nothing to report but the winner in Hartsfield's Landing. Get on the phone, find out what their problem with the president is, and solve it.
All right, except I can't get on this phone.
Why?
It's a government phone. I can't use it to intimidate voters.
The Prime Minister gave me a few different sets, and I wanted to give them as gifts.
I'm really overwhelmed by this, Mr. President.
You want to play?
You?
Yeah.
I'll get killed.
Why?
You're a grand wizard.
You're white, but don't ever touch me.
I'm sorry, sir.
I'm just kidding. You're an American. Where would you rather put your money?
India.
Why?
They're democratic, English-speaking.
Taiwan's got 400,000 troops on high alert. The size of China's war games is unprecedented.
Have you thought about asking Taiwan to call off the Patriot tests?
The Patriot tests aren't why China's showing its teeth.
They're not?
No. By the end of the week, Taiwan's going to announce that they're holding their first free elections.
Taiwan is a part of China, and is not a protectorate of the United States. And it is your actions that are an encroachment on Chinese sovereignty. A settlement that is not best facilitated by the U.S. selling arms to Taiwan.
That's not on the table in this meeting.
Taiwan's reunification with the mainland is the will of all Chinese people.
It's been 5 years, and why is it our fault?
Because instead of protecting American jobs, we're letting Canadian pulp importers take over their market share.
Tell them the president's been good for the economy overall.
They say he's been bad for the economy.
We're for affordable health care.
What's affordable if you've lost your job at the pulp mill? Yeah.
You haven't by any chance seen my copy of the president's private schedule, have you?
I don't think so.
It's damn D12.
I haven't seen it.
Chaz, you wouldn't happen to know what my copy of the private schedule is, would you?
Did you lose it?
I don't believe I did know.
Yeah.
I feel like she just put him in a position where he's going to escalate. You know what I mean?
I want you to leak it to two or three sources. The USS Carl Vincent's going to do what's called a passing exercise with the Independents.
It says, Sigmund, come play chess.
Sigmund.
Freud, that is funny, yeah.
Not so funny, huh? Let's call it truce.
I like this.
I love Bartlett
Well,
so
I
much.
certainly apologize, sir. Aren't you in the middle of a game with Sam?
Yeah, he's 1, 2, 4, 8, 12 moves away from checkmate.
What is our topic?
Re-election and the Bartlett psychosis. Let's get back on the horse.
Neither one of us ride horses.
That makes it more likely that we'll learn something.
Well, that's a good line. Yeah. Really?
I think they said if Taiwan tests the Patriots, they'll start their exercises.
That's right, except they didn't call them Patriots.
So we sell them the Orions, we sell them the AMRAAMs.
You gonna move?
Hang on. How does it work?
See the whole board.
This is great writing.
It is. It's literally just a game of chess, the whole episode. This isn't
Multiple games. The president's got to have multiple chess games going on at once.
where they glue
Charlie glued the phone.
That's
It's so petty. I guess she did hide his schedule.
That's hilarious.
Now we're playing for keeps.
How'd it go?
How does she escalate it now?
I love it.
Yeah.
And?
They think the president's going to privatize Social Security.
He's not gonna. That's the other guys!
They need 400,000 troops on high alert for thinking about holding an election.
You're gonna turn the carrier groups around, right?
We'll see how the pizza turns out.
The very minute they swear in the next guy, you and I are going round and round.
I had a friend in school who taught me. He was good. He was a really nice guy. Everybody liked him.
What was his name?
David Wheaton. He was on the wharf, and he saw a guy beating a woman up, and he went in to stop it, and the guy stabbed him to death. Let's go ahead and say the Republicans nominate Richie.
They will.
First of all, let's stop for a moment and say, you know, why? You think the strike against me is nobody likes the smartest kid in the class. What I can't stomach are people who are out to convince people that the educated are soft and privileged. He may be educated, but I'm plain spoken just like you.
Right,
Especially when we know that
yeah.
education can be the silver bullet. And if I do, it's not because my father
was an idiot.
Can we talk about, please, can we talk about my father with some respect? I know exactly where the pieces on the board are. I know exactly where the pieces are on Sam's board. I know exactly where the pieces still are on David Wheaton's. I don't know. He says I let the pitch go by.
What pitch?
I soften. I smooth myself out publicly.
I don't think you let the pitch go by.
I don't.
I think you foul it off. What are you doing?
Just playing some chess.
Oh, that's great. I think Leo kind of agrees with Toby. You are smarter. Bury them with that.
Yeah.
Bury them with knowing more. That's okay in your job. You're the president. You should be smart.
I like how they're pointing that out too, because he was president right now.
Seriously.
Oh my God.
Tommy, it's me.
What happened? She ran the card through.
It must be Bant or something.
Would you stay right there, please?
The card says you're Charles Young.
Yes.
Swapped a card.
Well, obviously I'm not.
Donna.
Well, he didn't lie. No, he didn't lie, Mackie. And they're shocked and appalled and disappointed, but really they're none of those things. They just wish they were, so never missing an opportunity to feel morally superior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's personable.
Right. And that, I mean, that's the beauty of America, man. Let them vote.
Get to vote. You're not just folks. You're not plain spoken. Do not act like it. They make this election about smart and not.
I think so too. Yeah.
Make it about engaged and not. And you've been holding me up for too many rounds.
I think Toby's right there, 100%.
What the hell?
I want to talk about the daily schedule. And Marion, the librarian over here.
It's time for one of you to be mature.
Well, God knows CJ's a lot more mature than I am.
Hey!
Excuse me, Leo?
Yeah.
Okay, it's over. That's that.
Yep, I knew it.
Why put the carrier groups in the Taiwan Strait?
Are they in the Taiwan Strait?
They're on their way.
Is that the same thing?
We agreed not to sell Taiwan the Aegis destroyers for a period of, I don't know, 5 years.
10 years, but you got it.
You never were going to sell them the destroyers.
But everybody wakes up alive in the morning and saves a little face. You're going to run for president one day. I'm scared. You can do it. I believe in you.
Lillian Braddock. Lillian's 18, everyone. This is her first vote.
Oh,
that's awesome.
It really is. That was really good.
Fantastic.
What a great episode.
Best. Hartsfield's Landing?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to remember that one because that was brilliant.
Yeah, I think the chess metaphor from the beginning was actually such a brilliant way to highlight what kind of political mind a president has, right? As far as like, I've got to juggle a lot of different things. I have to be ahead on a lot of different things, right? And I have to be able to step in and out of them to deal with so many different things that you're juggling all at once. And I'd like that Toby's just like, you're clearly smarter than not just everyone here, but Richie or whoever you're going to be running against. It's okay for that to be publicly known, that for that to be the campaign.
Yeah.
I should be president. I'm smarter than him.
It's like, don't downplay yourself.
Right.
But that is Bartlett's personality. That's who he is.
Right.
Like you said, like you want a Nobel Prize and you're talking about your kids.
Right.
That's awesome. You know,
stop being folksy though.
Exactly.
Right.
Look, there's something commendable about that.
There is.
But when it's game time,
right.
Maybe it wouldn't hurt to step up a little bit. You know what I mean? But Bartlett is a good person, and
clearly, right.
You know, it's interesting though because they had the episode where obviously it was let Bartlett be Bartlett.
Right.
He is himself.
Yeah.
And now they're like, you know, like walk it back, be better. Because look, the president should be held to a higher standard than everybody else.
Right.
Right. And I'm not saying he's a bad president at all, but you know, he has to save some face with the whole MS situation. He took the censure. That's over now. But now, you know, he's fighting now. He's in the fight. He's got to step up to the plate.
Well, yeah, I think the issue here is that, you know, while this was going on, this is when George W. Bush became president.
Yeah, so
and he became president because he turned I don't know anything into something endearing to people.
Yeah.
Like people liked that. Like, oh,
one of you.
Yeah, it was. It really was like I would have a beer with this guy. He should be president. And I'm like, I don't want a president that I want to go have a beer with. I want one that's thinking many moves ahead and is 10 times smarter than me. That's what I want from the guy running the free world.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, he was not one of us. His dad was a freaking president, for God's sake.
Yeah. No, he was a legacy Yale kid, right? East Coast, Connecticut Yale kid. He wasn't folksy. He just sold the fact that he was, and that worked for people.
The least qualified of his family too.
Yeah, probably. Right. But you know, it really is that idea that like, oh, someone refreshing, someone more like me. And I think that points to a negative aspect of the American ego, in that nobody should want a president like them. Unless you're amazing, you know what I mean? Unless you are someone who gets public service, and all that comes with that to a really high level, you don't want a president like you. For most people, you want somebody that's going to do better than you. I sleep more hours than the president does. I need someone that can go on 4 hours of sleep a night, because I'm not that person, right? Because I have the luxury of being able to sleep more at night, that kind of thing. And it's God, how quaint it is when you look at George W. Bush now. Then fast forward to Trump, and what people liked about him was he says it like it is, and it's like, does he? Because he's obscene, and because he's doing stand-up jokes, and because he's
awful things,
and saying awful things, and
untrue things,
right? And let's face it, plenty of times racist things. The idea of he speaks like me, that shouldn't be a good thing. When you're talking about the guy that's going to be in charge of everything.
If that guy is speaking like you too, it should make you look in the mirror.
Right?
Truly, it's a small issue. At the same time, it should be a pretty freaking big issue, man.
Well, when he kicked off his campaign with all the undocumented immigrants from Mexico were all criminals and drug dealers, and I'm like, what's happening? I thought it was a joke when he was doing
I did too.
That's how he announced he was running for president, was let's get rid of all of the Mexican people. And Mother of God, the fact that resonated with people caught me off guard. How well that resonated with people.
I thought after the Obama years,
I thought we were better than that.
Yeah.
Just as far as like, oh wait, empathy should be a characteristic we all aspire to, and we clearly kind of come up short. You have to wonder, like, we look back on George W. Bush, and we thought a lot of what he did was like, what are you doing, man? Right? And now
MD situation,
right? And now, in this day and age, in 2023, that almost looks quaint. And my question is, what's it going to be 20 years from now, when we have some psychopath running that makes Donald Trump look quaint?
Because it feels like the last 4 years have been damage control, kind of.
For sure.
Like things are not great, but they're better.
Well,
we're getting there.
I mean, there's definitely been stuff to dig out of, and it's hard. The metric's hard because of the pandemic, and a lot of people who support Joe Biden do not feel like he has done as much as he could have or said he would have, which is a completely fair criticism always of a politician. Was like, you promised X, Y, Z, and here we are. Where are the steps towards X, Y, Z? So all criticism of politicians is completely fair, regardless of their party.
They should not be without
completely right. But I do not want the day where the behavior of Donald Trump is considered quaint by the standards of what the next generation of politicians is going to be doing.
And we should mention Gore's factor in this too. I mean, it really feels like they're talking about
why
he's the smarter guy.
He was the smarter guy, but he did exactly what I feel like, and again, we were obviously a lot younger, but I
was a child.
Right. I feel like Gore did a lot of what Bart was being accused of here.
Mm-hmm.
He was the smarter guy in the room, but fell on his face because he tried to be aw shucks folksy.
Yeah.
And he wasn't. He was the smarter guy, and didn't say that was a thing.
But not only that, he was made fun of for it.
He was made fun of for it, right? It's this idea that, like, if you want to be a successful politician, you have to try to be identifiable to the people who are electing you. And I like, no, really, I'm one of you. And like the criticism of, like, I remember, again, this was a long time ago, Obama took a lot of criticism over mustard. Do you remember this?
No.
And he took a lot of criticism over arugula. People like there were people who publicly were saying that, like, this man can't be president. He eats arugula for his salads.
What?
This idea that he's a snob. Right? Like, he's too snobby and too, like, self-important and too educated to be president. And I'm like, I'm not sure that there's a high end for what you expect for somebody that has to do everything a president does.
Frankly, I don't care.
Why would anybody?
What the president eats, as long as it's edible.
Yeah,
You know what I
right.
mean? And also, like,
Yeah, if he's not eating paint chips, what do I care?
Right? And also, like, I don't want to hang out with a politician because, frankly, they have a more important job than I do.
Go do your job,
and
right? Yeah.
There's a good chance they're not relatable, and they shouldn't be because they've been working towards this for most of their adult life.
I remember,
or they should have been, at least. You know?
I saw a comedian that was talking about Bush during the Bush years, right? And again, I was a kid, so I don't remember specifically. I don't remember who it was, but he's like, a lot of people said they voted for Bush because he was the one that they would want to have a beer with. If you're in a bar right now, take a look around. See a lot of presidents sitting there, which is kind of that idea that not everybody can do that job.
I know it's dramatization as well, but honestly, I mentioned a couple episodes ago, guys, watch Vice. Vice really breaks down that whole administration.
I love Vice.
You know what, I'm sure there's a fictitious aspect to the show, but McKay is a smart guy, and he read damn near all the books about Cheney and that administration, and he lived through it. And he was one of the biggest criticizers of him at the time, obviously parodying him in SNL for years, you know? But that movie is so well researched, it sums it up pretty darn well.
Yeah, I didn't like it as much as The Big Short, but no, it's solid.
It's fascinating.
It
really is. And
it is. And again, you think about Dick Cheney, it's like, yeah, that was 20 years ago, and it almost seems quaint now.
However, in 2018, I'm digressing a little bit here, but Sacha Baron Cohen had that show, Who Was America?
Right.
As a response to the crazy times we were in,
Sure, right.
And he famously went undercover and interviewed a lot of politicians. Dick Cheney was one of those politicians.
Mm-hmm.
He was Sacha Baron Cohen was a fake Israeli special forces agent.
Right.
He got Dick Cheney to autograph a waterboard. That's true. That is an actual thing that's happened.
So Dick Cheney did not catch the irony there, since he was one of the architects of American torture.
Yes.
Interesting.
Nice. It's shocking, like how apparent this is. So
yeah.
Well, we're gonna end
like I said, let's hope. Right. Let's hope we're not heading for something even worse down the road with our political state.
Yeah,
as it is.
Let's knock on wood, guys. All collectively, everybody.
I mean, I feel like maybe we're getting a little too over the fact that one political party tried to overthrow the government when they didn't like who lost an election violently. And like, oh, well, water under the bridge. Let's move on from that. And I don't feel like it should be water under the bridge.
No.
But, we're still in the middle of that. We'll see where it all goes.
We'll see where it goes.
We'll catch you next one, guys.